All right, so I thought I would try and just think out loud. So, without anything really in my head as far as what I want to say, I just thought I would muse a bit about this past week and some of the things that I went through. So, one was that I went to the hospital, two different hospitals actually, and met with individuals who we were hoping could sign power of attorney documents. And it was a crucial time to see if these individuals had capacity to the extent that they could sign the power of attorney document. One was successful, and the other was not successful. And it is so important to think what would happen in the event you cannot handle your financial affairs. And it goes above and beyond paying bills. Oftentimes, there's something that really could be so helpful in these kinds of dire situations. And it requires looking at the power of attorney document to see what can be done, what was authorized under the circumstances. Now, it makes me think of another situation where an individual is having trouble as far as a power of attorney acting in a bad manner, so not in the best interest of a family member. And in those situations, I always wonder what happened when there was an attempt to get these documents in place and what conversations were had about the people that were going to be involved in these roles. And if there was any concern about such a person acting in this role, what safeguards can we put in place? One, they're not even in the document. Two, they must act with somebody else, which has some of its own problems, or we put a monitor in, which has some of its own problems, or for big assets, we set up a trust, transfer those assets to the trust, and we do not allow that person to have any responsibility in regard to being a trustee of the trust. So, estate planning, when you're at the point of getting documents in place or reviewing and revising documents, you must think about where you're at and who are the people that would help you in a time of need. We can't wait until there is an emergency because, as I stated, you may or may not even have capacity at that time to then sign a document, and that is no way to move forward as far as handling your financial affairs. And as well, you've got to think about the people who you do want to put in the document and what you need to really plan for because you're not quite sure that they would act in your best interest, or if there's any chance that there's going to be some fighting with people involved, there's just another and better way to proceed forward. Now, I was also thinking about setting up a trust in situations where we are concerned about various factors. One of those factors is probate. So when a person passes, when they have assets in their name alone, those assets will pass through the probate process, which generally refers to surrogate's court finding a document called a will to be the valid last will and testament of a person. So surrogate's court has to make that determination, but generally the word probate refers to the process of estate administration. So sometimes you hear the word probate and kind of can mean this or that. But when a person owns assets in their name alone, then those assets pass through this process. Now, that process in a good case scenario, without a lot going wrong or problems involved, may last about a year. But when there are problems, and that can be due to the assets, the people involved, and so on, then it's going to be longer than a year. And I had a situation this week where a person wanted to get some basic estate planning documents in place, will, power of attorney, healthcare proxy. As we moved forward, we realized, one, it would be wonderful for him to have his real estate in a trust in the event something should happen to him during his life, because he has some goals as far as who would be able to use and live in the property as their principal residence. And they would not be on the deed at this time, but they can certainly have that life use and occupancy in the trust agreement. So one, that is extremely beneficial. And then we can have the trustee properly managing that asset during this person's life in the event that he cannot act in that way. And the type of trust is going to be a revocable trust in this instance. But certainly there are times when an irrevocable trust will make sense. Then upon this person's passing, he had numerous factors that would cause problems for probate, and we went through those. And at first blush, a person may think, I want to put what I want in the will. What else could there be? These are the directions that I have. This is how I want it to go. And I have to point out, no, things don't work like that. There are proceedings through surrogate's court that will occur. And when you have certain issues, concerns involved, they will cause delay. So for example, if you have a person under a disability, there could be a guardian ad litem appointed to act on their behalf and in their best interest. And that could be in regard to opening the estate and also to closing the estate. There could be an ex-spouse who would be the guardian of property of children, and you don't like the idea of your ex-spouse, let's say, getting control of certain assets on behalf of minor children, and you want other arrangements in place. Or even, let's say, an ex-spouse being a guardian of property of children who are under a disability, and that also being the way that does not sound good to you as far as the ex-spouse managing the assets passing through probate, and so on and so forth. As far as examples that can cause problems for people, and again, at first blush, when you're thinking about doing your documents, you don't think of these things. You're thinking, I'm going to just direct what I want, easy peasy. And we really have to step back and say, did you know that this will be an issue? Did you know that this will cause delay? Did you know there'll be a person appointed, act on this person's behalf, and all of the things that we talked about? But I have to tell you, it always comes down to client being open and willing to discuss these issues, concerns, and attorney being willing and open to help the person and communicate as effectively as possible. Because we can certainly go down a rabbit hole with any number of possibilities and issues and concerns. And so we have to try and be open to having these conversations, but also not run too far off the tracks and sort of lead to no man's land or confusion. I have to say that looking back on my week, I can find some hope with the matters that I feel I was able to really help with, and then some others that just give me that feeling that I wish we could turn back the hands, time, and change things for people, because I know the road ahead is not going to be as easy, as efficient, as drama-free as I wish that it could have been, had the planning been done differently, or even had the planning been done at all. It's the beauty of estate planning. It's also the thing that can trip people up because there's a lot to it. I've also been thinking about when I was younger, and I had a whole bunch of hopes as far as getting involved in some businesses. And I also had a certain mindset in dealing with my own finances that truly tripped me up. And estate planning and financial planning go hand in hand, because what happened to me and the trip ups that occurred were due to a mindset that really laid the groundwork for problems. And I wish I could go back in time and change what happened in that way for me, because it wasn't just the financial planning that was lacking due to the mindset that I had, but what that meant then for me as far as moving forward with my life and some of the difficulties that I had coming out of the problems that ensued. So, estate planning, financial planning, mindset planning, I really think come down to getting people who can help you and being willing and open to having these incredible life changing moments and opportunities. So, this was my first rambling of just some thoughts that I've had in the last couple days, especially just as I think about my last week. And I hope this didn't bore you too much, but it gives you actually some food for thought about what's going on in your world. What mindset do you have, and how is it helping you move forward in these areas with your finances, with your estate planning, with your financial planning, and with your people planning? Let's not forget people planning. People will affect what happens with your life, your affairs, and so on. And that is both professionally, professional advisors, as well as the people that you intend to help, that will be helping you, and so on. All right, so this is Ruth George with Ruth P. George Law, PLLC, Trust and Estate Attorney. This video, as with any video I do put out, is for educational purposes only, and I look forward to seeing you on another video.